Abuja, the station that plays every song. It's 40 minutes past 11 a.m. on a Friday. Of course, we are thanking God that it is Friday, 21 January 2022. My name is Faith, and you're in the Classic Lounge. Usually, on Fridays like this, we get into NAS in Focus, and that is just looking at what is going on in the National Assembly, the activities, the laws, the bills, the deliberations, everything going on there. We get to talk about it. Okay, and most of the time we are graced with the presence of a lawmaker who helps us make sense of all of this, and we can ask our questions and have things cleared up for us. And today, of course, it's no different. I have in the studio distinguished Senator Kabiru Gaya, representing Kano's South constituency of Kano State. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, and good morning, good afternoon, or good morning, Nigeria.
Yes, it's still the morning. Anyway, you can join in the conversation. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to send them via WhatsApp. Send them to 0909-697-5943. And Senator Kabiru Gaya also happens to be the chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, which means that we have a very interesting conversation ahead of us, because the news has been inundated with news with the electoral bill issue. Remember that after the Senate, or after the National Assembly passed it last year, sent it to the president, and then he rejected the bill based on the issue of the direct primaries that the National Assembly had insisted was going to be there. And of course, there had been that back and forth about what was going to happen. Finally, the president had said that once that clause is taken out, he is open to signing it, but he feels that that clause should not be there. And now the Senate and the House of Rep, they have amended that particular clause 84, and now imputed the issue of direct primaries, indirect primaries, and consensus as well. It is interesting, though, that the Senate included consensus as well as an option, but the House did not. We will get to that conversation later, but let's talk about this electoral bill. Sir, the Senate has now amended the clause. Well, how did you get there? Because I had the impression that there was the issue of overriding, the president on this matter, but the Senate decided to go this way and amend it. How did you get to that point?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Nigerians for supporting us on this bill. We have been on this bill for almost 2 years.
Yes.
And finally, we came to end where we passed the bill to the president to sign. Unfortunately, the president didn't sign the bill directly. He said he gave some reasons that we should not box the political parties in one thing. That means they have to do direct primaries. Some political parties may not even be able to hold direct primaries in all the wards, because certainly they do not have that capacity. So he suggested that we should now at least bring up options for the parties. And initially, when we got his letter of rejection, some members, even before reading the letter, felt that no, they have to go by their own way. Some were aggrieved, some of them were saying no, we have to exercise our powers, and one of our powers is to veto the president, because this will not be the first time the National Assembly vetoed the president on, not this president, President Obasanjo, on the issue of Niger Delta Development Commission. He said no, he's not going to sign it, but when the House and the Senate met, we all agree, and we had the 2/3, and we vetoed the president, and now NNDC is surviving, and people are benefiting a lot from that, based on the act of the National Assembly. So, but for this, we in the Electoral Act or bill, we have made amendments, almost 100 and plus. So we can, and the suggestion the president is bringing is only one amendment. So because of that thing, we cannot throw the baby and the bathwater. So we say, well, let's look at it. So some people have a change of mind that, okay, let us agree with what the president wants, and so that this bill can be signed, because the Electoral Act is very important. If we don't sign this Electoral Act, we will have a lot of problems in the 2023 election. It may be difficult to hold even, but it can hold. But we have a lot of problems. But what we did in this bill, we made a lot of amendments for the interest of Nigerians, so that Nigerians can have free, fair, and credible election. and a result produced which the Nigerians or the electorates would be happy that what they vote is what the person they voted is what they get as an answer, not that they vote Mr. X and they get Mr. Y as a candidate. So I believe that, so the Senate now look at it and say, okay, let us try and make amendments to accommodate the president so that the president can sign this bill. He has his own reason for saying we should be more democratic by allowing parties to choose options, to give them options. And I think we virtually saw reasons in what he said, and we agreed. I think the issue is that all what we are saying is for the interest of Nigerians, and for the president, I'm sure his reasons were also denied, and we said, okay, let us now accommodate the president's wish, and we did. We have the two houses met, the Senate and the House. The Senate included the option of consensus, because in the initial bill passed by the Senate before the harmonization committee, they were agreed on consensus on direct primaries and indirect primaries, all the three options. But so we said, well, since that was our arrangement and that was the president wanted, so the Senate agreed also in consensus, but the House did not agree on consensus.
So what's going to happen now with
so
that?
What will happen next is that as soon as we resume, the leadership of the Senate and the House will now form a conference committee. A committee will be a committee with the members of the Senate and members of the House, including the chairman of both committees of the INEC. So we will all sit together and review that option and agree whether to include the consensus or remove it.
Because there are CSOs who have the opinion that the consensus option is not democratic. They're saying that the issue of the direct and indirect primaries is enough and there is no need for a consensus candidate. What do you say to that?
Well, in politics, we are looking for ways out, ways that you can satisfy the people. Because if a candidate in a state, let's say like a senatorial candidate or a House member or a state assembly is doing so well, and he doesn't have many contenders and he has served for a while, then the government or the people will now bring them together and do consensus and say, oh, like, this guy is doing well at that place, let's allow him to continue. But that's part of concession. And we don't have to go the whole way again and do either direct or indirect. So it may not be democratic, but when people agree, it makes it acceptable. So
but will you consider their opposition to this? Will you consider the thoughts of the CSOs to this?
Well, we will look at it. The Joint Committee on Harmonization will now look at those issues and whatever we came up with. The whole thing is a matter of numbers. If some numbers that are higher agrees on, say, remove this or put this, even if I'm the chairman, there's not so much I can do. I have to go with the views of my members.
Yeah. Interesting. So how long do you think this will take? Because you have to now have that conference committee and then do the deliberation before it is now passed on. So the president again, how long should Nigerians have to wait?
I believe we can do that within a week or maximum of 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that means we can do it within that period and quickly pass it to the president for the president to sign, so that the INEC can now continue on its programs.
Okay, so let's talk about, at the end of the day, what you expect this particular bill to address. There have been different thoughts about it, of course. So you were saying that part of the reason is to make sure that Nigerians have a credible, fair election. What are your expectations, from this?
Well, first of all, the bill covers a lot of areas to make sure that the election is accepted by Nigerians. When you do an election by those who voted, now have confidence on the result that comes out of the exercise, then it means you have achieved a lot. And we put a lot of laws to safeguard this issue of money politicking, so that people buy votes on the day of the election. The law says that when you are caught, you'll be finalized and then you pay the charges and even go to prison for that purpose. So we're trying to make sure that people don't do a lot of negative acts on the days of the elections or even before. And the issue of vote buying, we also put a law against it. We also put a law against electoral officer who is being forced to say results on directs, either at the gunpoint or whatever. So we all put that into consideration. And then we said the issue of this card reader, which we say to make sure that it counts the number of people that are on the polling units. Generally, before, when we don't have these card readers, people, if you have only 20 people that came into a polling unit of 500, but when they want to record, they will record those 500 and forget about those 20 that were only there present. But with the card reader, it dictates that if only 20 people came to the polling unit, that will be the result based on the 20 people, not on the initial number allocated. So I believe the Electoral Act has put so much into it, and when we go by that, we will have another bill which is going to be on Electoral Offences Commission bill, whereby this commission will be made to be charging people to court based on the offences done during the elections, before or after the elections. So I believe we are putting a lot of things on the table for credible conduct of elections.